My brother told our whole family. I was a failure, so I hired him, fired him publicly, then bought the house he was saving for. I'm a 29-year-old guy, and I've always been the scapegoat of my family. My older brother Ryan, he's the golden child, always has been. Straight A's, football captain, charming to adults, married young, landed a six-figure job right out of college. My parents still bring up his high school valedictorian speech like it was the Gettysburg Address. Meanwhile, I was the difficult one, the one who didn't apply himself, the one who just needed to be more like Ryan. I wasn't dumb. I just didn't want to live in his shadow. But no matter what I did, honor roll, part-time job, even a full-ride scholarship, it was never enough. They'd smile politely, but the moment Ryan entered the room, it was like I vanished. After college, I didn't go corporate. I didn't do a big announcement. I just built something quietly. Started my own small digital business from my crappy one-bedroom apartment. I didn't tell anyone. Not because I was hiding, but because I knew if I did, they'd either mock it, or worse, pretend to support me with those forced, half-hearted, good for you smiles that feel more like pity than pride. Ryan once told me at a family BBQ, loud enough for everyone to hear, not everyone's cut out for real work. Some people are just built different. Everyone laughed. I did too, but I felt that laugh die in my chest. I think the worst part isn't even the insults. It's how invisible you become when you don't fit the version of success they want. Every achievement of mine is met with silence. Every mistake, front page news at Sunday brunch. Last week, I got a text from my mum. Ryan's birthday dinner this Saturday. Everyone's coming. Hope you can too. Something about it felt final. I RSVP'd yes, but I had no idea that one dinner would start everything. I showed up late on purpose. Ryan's birthday dinner was at some trendy little steakhouse downtown. White linen tables, exposed brick walls, the kind of place that serves overpriced cocktails with names like Executive Manhattan. Everyone was already seated when I walked in. Mom waved me over with her usual half smile, the one that says, "You finally decided to show up?" Without actually saying it, I kept my head down, slid into my seat and told myself, just get through the night. Smile, nod, eat, leave. That was the plan, but Ryan had other plans. Midway through dessert, he stood up, raised his glass, and gave a little speech. I just want to say how grateful I am for my job, my amazing wife, our new home, and this incredible family. Then he paused. His eyes locked on me. Some of us, after all, actually did something with our lives. Laughter rippled around the table. Light, casual. But I felt every syllable like a slap. I stared at the chocolate drizzle on my plate, pretending it didn't hit me. Then he kept going. Not everyone's meant for the corporate grind, right? He said, glancing at me again. Some people bounce around. What was it, 3 jobs in 2 years? He laughed. Hey, no judgment. Some people just take longer to figure things out. That part wasn't even true. I left those jobs by choice. One to start my business, the others to scale it. But then no one asked. No one ever asks. I didn't say a word. Not even when Dad joined in with, well, at least you're trying, son. Trying. Like I was a toddler learning to walk. I left before the bill came. No goodbyes. No fake hugs. That night I didn't cry. I didn't rage. That night I made a plan. They think I'm unemployed. That's the part that gets me the most. They sit around holiday tables whispering about how I can't hold down a job, completely unaware that for the past 4 years, I've been quietly running a business that now pulls in 7 figures annually. Yeah, 7 figures. I built a remote e-commerce consulting agency from the ground up. No investors. No handouts. Just me, a laptop, and sleepless nights learning every damn thing I could about SEO, digital ads, customer funnels, logistics, you name it. It wasn't glamorous. In the beginning, I worked out of my kitchen on a folding table with a second-hand monitor. Some days I barely made 20 now. I've got 8 full-time employees, a waiting list of clients, and 2 separate acquisition offers sitting in my inbox, but I never told them. Not because I'm hiding anything, but because I know exactly how that conversation would go. My dad would say, "Oh, like a blog thing?" Ryan would smirk and ask if I'm doing affiliate links for vitamins. Mom would smile and ask when I'm getting a real job. It's easier to let them think I'm floundering than try to explain success on terms they'll never understand. But after that birthday dinner,
I'm done staying silent. They want to believe I'm a failure? Fine, let them.
I've got receipts, I've got leverage, and now I've got motivation. I don't want to argue. I don't want to fight for their respect. I want to build something so undeniable they'll choke on their own words. That night, as I stared at my bedroom ceiling with my phone glowing beside me, emails pinging in from international clients, I knew what I had to do. I'm going to show them exactly who I am, but not with words. With actions, a few months later, karma knocked. Ryan lost his job. Some kind of department restructure or performance mismatch. He didn't say exactly, but the day it happened, I saw it splattered all over his Facebook. A long-winded rant about corporate loyalty, fake co-workers, how nobody values hard workers anymore. He even threw in a line about how he was open to new opportunities. I reread that post 5 times. Then I laughed, not because he was down,
but because I saw the window.
The perfect poetic opportunity. I called my assistant, Leah. "We're hiring for that ops manager role, right?"
I asked. She said, yeah, we were looking to fill it fast.
"Reach out to this guy." Ryan redacted. "Don't mention me. Just make the offer competitive." She didn't ask why.
Leah's smart, discreet, loyal. We crafted a message from one of our recruiting aliases, something polished and professional.
Within a day, Ryan replied. 2 interviews later, he signed the contract. Base salary, more than his last job. Benefits?
Full package. Title?
Senior Operations Manager. And not once did he question who owned the company, because I never put my name on it. See, a while back, I learned how to separate visibility from control. My company's brand is public, but the founder persona, that's been played by my friend Daniel for years. He's the one who shows up in podcasts, webinars, public profiles.
Me? I stay in the background and pull the strings.
It's cleaner that way, so when Ryan joined, he thought he was working for Daniel Marcus Enterprises. He met Daniel over Zoom, shook hands virtually, said he was thrilled to be part of such an innovative team. I watched that call from behind the scenes, and I smiled. The brother who humiliated me in front of our family now worked for me. From the moment Ryan joined, he acted like he owned the place. He walked into Slack threads like he was a general in a war room, issuing orders instead of asking questions. He called interns kid and referred to Leah, my assistant, as his personal scheduler. The worst part? He genuinely thought people were impressed, but I was watching. Every single day, I had admin access to every internal dashboard, every performance report, every flagged message.
I didn't interfere. I didn't warn him.
I just watched, quietly logging each missed deadline, each sloppy client summary, each moment he showed up late to a Zoom meeting, camera off, shirt wrinkled, eyes half shut. He blew off a training session during his 2nd week, told HR he was already familiar with the tools and didn't need babysitting. A week later, he submitted a proposal filled with outdated KPIs and broken links. The client called it amateur work. Leah messaged me. "Leah, do you want me to coach him, or are we letting this train wreck itself?" Me, "Let it run. I wasn't being petty. Okay, maybe a little." But this was the same guy who called me a failure in front of our parents. Now he was fumbling in my company, embarrassing my team, and assuming he was bulletproof just because of his LinkedIn resume. But the team started noticing. One of the junior analysts pinged Leah asking if Ryan was supposed to be this rude. Another flagged him for taking credit for their spreadsheet model during a client call. The pile of complaints wasn't massive yet, but it was growing, and I knew I had the perfect storm brewing, so I scheduled a mid-quarter performance review, company-wide, on Zoom, cameras on, and I made sure
Ryan's name was right at the
top of the agenda. It was time to give him the stage he always craved, just not the script he expected. The entire company was on Zoom. Roughly 40 faces filled the screen, some in office settings, some at kitchen tables, a few with dogs in the background. It was the usual quarterly review, the kind where we go over wins, goals, and accountability. Ryan looked bored, leaned back in his chair, sipping coffee like he owned the room. Probably thought this would be his moment to show off.
maybe get praised.
Maybe hint at a promotion. I waited until the halfway mark. Daniel opened the segment. We've got a quick appearance from someone you all haven't seen yet, but he's the reason this company exists. He smiled. Please welcome our actual founder, Alex. My camera clicked on. For a split second, everything froze. Then Ryan's eyes locked on mine.
I watched the blood drain from his face. Wait,
He said, squinting. You're the...
founder, CEO, employer, I said calmly.
Nice to see you again, Ryan. He didn't say another word. I pulled up the shared screen. Slide deck, neat and clean. Title, Performance Audit, Q2 Operations Review. Ryan, redacted, I didn't yell.
I didn't gloat.
I presented facts. Cold, clinical. Missed 4 deadlines in 6 weeks. Declined 2 mandatory team trainings. 3 internal complaints, including one for condescending language, one client email calling his proposal unusable. Each point had a receipt, timestamp, screenshot, Slack thread.
I didn't embellish. I didn't need to. The chat went silent. Cameras stiff.
Everyone watched him squirm. When I got to the last slide, I stopped sharing and looked directly into the lens. Ryan, I said, your performance here has not only failed to meet expectations, but it's actively hurt morale and client trust.
So let me make this clear. I leaned in. You're fired.
Effective immediately. And then I ended the meeting. 10 minutes after I ended the call, my Slack pinged. Then my phone. Then email. Ryan, can we talk?
Please don't do this. I was under a lot of pressure, man. You don't understand what it's like being the one everyone expects to succeed. That last one made me pause. The one everyone expects to succeed.
I read it 3 times, then let out a dry laugh. He sent paragraph after paragraph. Said the job meant a lot to him. That he was just going through a rough patch. That he needed a win. And somewhere in the flood of messages came the line I'd been waiting for. That toast at the birthday dinner?
I was just joking, bro.
You know how our family is. Like those years of humiliation were some inside joke I'd missed. I didn't type anything back. I didn't need to. I sat there, the glow of the laptop casting a soft light across the room, and I watched the typing bubbles come and go. More apologies, more excuses. At one point he asked if we could start over, said he'd worked twice as hard, but I wasn't angry.
Not anymore.
The fire had burned out a long time ago. I didn't want an apology, I wanted clarity.
I wanted him to see what it felt like to be underestimated, dismissed, pitied.
To sit in a room full of people who think you're nothing and know they're wrong. And now he did. I hovered over his message thread, clicked the tiny X in the top right corner, and closed the laptop without a sound. No dramatic mic drop, no speech, just peace. But the universe wasn't done yet. A week later, while browsing real estate listings, I saw it, Ryan's dream house, for sale, newly back on the market, and that's when I knew this story wasn't finished yet. 3 months passed. After the Zoom call, Ryan went quiet.
No messages, no family drama.
Just silence like a bad signal finally cut off for good. I poured myself back into work, took on new clients, even started looking for a house, something with space, light, and no ghosts clinging to the walls. I wasn't in a rush. I'd been renting comfortably for years. But one night, scrolling through a real estate app in bed, a listing stopped me cold. There it was. Stone driveway. Tall oak in the front yard. Wraparound porch with navy shutters. Ryan used to call it his forever house. I remembered the Zillow link he once sent to the family group chat with the caption, "Manifesting this in 5 years or less." He'd been saving for it since college.
Talked about it like it was destiny.
Said he and his wife would raise kids there, build a home gym, host Thanksgiving dinners with our parents. But something had changed. The listing said, back on market. Buyer financing fell through. I did some quiet digging. Ryan's fiancée had ended things shortly after his job loss. Rumor had it, the down payment vanished in the split. He'd pulled out of escrow just weeks before. I stared at the screen for a long time. It wasn't about revenge anymore.
I wasn't angry at him.
I wasn't trying to ruin his dreams, but this house, the one he used to brag about endlessly, the one he said I'd never afford in my lifetime, was now within reach. And not because I cheated or begged or got lucky. Because I earned it. I clicked the contact button and scheduled a private showing. A part of me hesitated, but a louder part, calmer, older, done with being small, knew deep down this was the final chapter. I didn't even blink at the asking price. Full list, all cash, no contingencies. I told the realtor to pull the paperwork same day. She raised an eyebrow, probably wondering what kind of tech startup kid I was, but I didn't offer details. Just said, I've been waiting for this one. The closing took less than 2 weeks. I walked through each empty room like I'd been here before, because I had, just not physically. I'd heard Ryan talk about this place so many times it was practically seared into my brain. It's got that modern but cozy vibe, he once told me. Natural light, big kitchen island, space to build a life. Now it was mine, but I didn't tell anyone. Not yet.
I wanted the reveal to be quiet, controlled, undeniable, so I sent a group text. Hey everyone, I'm hosting a little celebration dinner next Saturday. Come hungry.
Address below, Mom replied first with a string of smiley faces. Dad just said will do. Ryan didn't respond at all. They all showed up on time. My parents stepped out of the car and immediately looked around like they'd pulled into the wrong driveway.
Is this the right place?
Mom asked, clutching her purse. Sure is, I said, waving them in. Ryan stood frozen at the bottom of the steps. His eyes were scanning every inch, like if he stared hard enough, it'd change into something else. The house was spotless. Catered food, soft music playing, subtle lighting. I let them walk through the open floor plan, admiring the polished floors, the oversized windows, the view. Then I stood by the kitchen island, the one Ryan always said he wanted for hosting game nights, and raised my glass. Thanks for coming, I said. Means a lot, I paused.
Let the room settle. I wanted to share some news. I bought the place. Ryan's face didn't move.
But his eyes, they cracked. My parents looked between us, confused. Wait, you bought this house?
I smiled. Yeah, just closed last week. The room went dead silent. Ryan just stood there, gripping the back of a dining chair like it was the only thing keeping him upright.
His jaw clenched, but his voice shook when he finally spoke. You did this on purpose. Everyone turned. This whole thing, he snapped. Hiring me, firing me, this house. You planned it. You set me up. You've been waiting to humiliate me. I stared at him, but he wasn't done. You ruined my life, man. You embarrassed me in front of your employees.
You stole the one thing I wanted.
Why, just to get even? My mom stepped forward, voice sharp.
Okay, that's enough.
This is getting out of hand, Dad added. You've made your point, son. No need to rub it in. We're all family here. Family. I felt something in me crack. You want to talk about rubbing it in?
I said, louder than I meant to.
You all sat around for years while he mocked me, while you compared us like I was some kind of cautionary tale. Every birthday, every holiday, you let him make jokes at my expense and I laughed along just to keep the peace. My mum's lips parted, but I didn't stop. You think this is revenge?
No, this is restraint.
Because if I wanted revenge, I would have exposed him publicly. But I didn't. I gave him a job. I paid him well. And when he failed, I let the truth speak for itself. Ryan looked pale now. And yeah, I said, stepping forward. That company?
Mine. Built it myself.
While you were all too busy pretending I couldn't hold a job. I looked at each of them, my parents, still stunned.
Ryan, furious and lost. I was never the failure, I said quietly.
You just never looked. And then I turned my back on all of them for the first time in my life, with no guilt. Just clarity. Ryan didn't say another word. He just stood there for a second, chest heaving, fists clenched, then shoved his chair back so hard it scraped the floor. Without looking at anyone, he stormed out the front door, slamming it behind him hard enough to rattle the windows. No one moved. The silence left behind felt heavier than any shouting match ever could. My mum was the first to speak.
You didn't have to humiliate him like that, she whispered, eyes wet. He's going through a lot. Dad nodded. You could have handled this privately.
What was the point of putting on a show? I took a slow breath. This wasn't a show, I said, steady and quiet.
This was the first time you all actually saw me. I didn't ask for applause. I just stopped hiding.
You made him feel small, Mom said, voice trembling. I looked at her, really looked, and for once, I didn't feel that old ache, that desperate need to be understood. I didn't make him feel small, I said.
He did that to me my entire life, and you let him, my dad frowned.
So what now, you just walk away from the family? I nodded gently. I'm walking away from needing anything from it. They didn't know how to respond.
No yelling.
No dramatic exit. Just the sound of my own voice finally feeling like mine. I hope you're proud of Ryan, I added, soft but firm. But I'm done performing for your approval.
I have nothing left to prove. I collected the empty glasses from the table, walked them to the sink, rinsed them one by one. They left without dessert. No hugs. No guilt trips.
Just the sound of the front door clicking shut behind them. I stood in my kitchen, alone, surrounded by everything I built. And for the first time in my life, it was quiet, in the best way. I didn't win.
I healed. And I left. The truth is, this wasn't about a house. It was about everything that came before it. The years I spent shrinking myself to fit into a version of success that was never mine.
The holidays where I sat at the far end of the table, the birthdays where no one asked about my life, the endless comparisons that chipped away at who I was becoming. I used to think the only way to be seen was to prove them wrong. But therapy helped me realize I was chasing the wrong thing.
I didn't need revenge. I needed peace.
I needed to let go of the version of myself they built in their heads, the one who would always be trying, always be less than, always be Ryan's shadow. So yeah, I kept the house, but I filled it with different people, real friends, colleagues who respect me, mentors who push me without belittling me. Sometimes we cook, sometimes we just sit around on the porch drinking coffee and laughing about nothing.
There's no tension, no eggshells, just
quiet joy. I hung a few framed photos in the hallway, not of my childhood, but of moments I built myself, my first client contract, my team's retreat, the launch party of my latest brand. Proof that I've been living this whole time, they just never bothered to look. A few weeks ago, I got a text from Ryan. I shouldn't have said what I said. I was wrong.
I see that now. I hope you're okay. I never opened it, not because I'm angry, but because I'm no longer
seeking closure from people who never saw my worth to begin.
The house is warm now, bright, alive, and
if you're wondering, yeah, I kept the house. Sometimes the best payback is living well, in his dream house,